Hi guys, Paul here with another talk from an ear for men. Single mothers are the absolute worst thing that has ever happened to any culture, and this one especially. They're a constant drain on the economy. They breed dysfunctional children who are the kind of social misfits that join gangs, commit violent crimes, get addicted to drugs, and often fill our prisons. And that's just the boys. The female offspring of single mothers are much more likely to grow up like mother, like daughter, and latch on to the government tit, soaking up entitlement spending, squatting like bums in Section 8 housing, collecting food stamps, taking Medicaid, and in about a dozen other ways leech benefits from the tax dollars the rest of us must work for. These are women with low to no standards for themselves. They often fuck thugs for a pastime, squirting out even more low-intelligence, unproductive, and destructive progeny that will grow up to burden the world around them like useless wastes of space. More simply put, single mothers are an anchor and chain wrapped around the neck of society. They are an antibiotic-resistant infection that can only be treated with hard labor and a complete withdrawal of sympathy and support. Now, to be as clear as possible about who I'm talking about, I'm not just talking about any mother who is single by circumstance. I understand that there are widows out there. There are also some women who married poorly and were genuinely better off without their husbands. Now that I've cited the underwhelming minority of cases, I can go back to who I'm really talking about. Welfare whores, whose purpose for having children is the fact that they can siphon up some of my tax money with each illegitimate birth. These are the skeezers you see out there bragging about how they don't need a man to have a baby. These are the ones that have realized that women have three general options in life. They can work, they can marry and either work or live off their husbands, or they can churn out a free ticket with the state in 9 months, so they hump whatever's in sight and narcissistically pursue a self-centered life that their children and the rest of society invariably pay for. The same goes for idiot women who can't or won't find an acceptable man for their children to have a father, so they employ a sperm bank and fertility services to meet their selfish end. If you think I'm off base, consider this about children from single mothers. 63% of suicides nationwide are individuals from single-parent families. 75% of children in chemical dependency treatment are from single-parent families. Children raised by single mothers are much more likely to drop out of school, to have or cause a teen pregnancy, and to experience a divorce in adulthood. When you narrow the focus down to what we're really talking about, fatherless children, the numbers get even more chilling. Fatherless children are 2 to 3 times more likely to get suspended from school. And by the way, the 3 times more likely group comes from never married mothers. The 2 times more likely group comes from divorced women, suggesting that if kids ever had a father in their lives, they still fare better. The river of negatives keeps rolling. Fatherless children are much more likely to be sexually abused in the home. They are at much greater risk of poor educational performance, mental illness, and criminality. They are also much more likely to live in poverty and to endure all the crap that comes with that lot in life. There are countless other forms of nastiness that come directly from the stupid decisions of idiot women whose sole skill in life is the ability to get knocked up. And there are millions of them out there, covering the Western world like a sprawling colony of MRSA. And for one, I am sick and tired of hearing all the media claptrap about how courageous and loving they are as parents, how they are beating the odds against a stacked deck in life. Bullshit. They aren't beating anything, except probably their kids, because yeah, children of single mothers are much more likely to be physically abused. If these women gave a damn at all about their children, they would either give them up for adoption or they would make sure they have what they need in life. A father. I don't mean a dupe or a fill-in that you get once the bills arrive, but a real-life biological father that you don't run off in the name of finding yourself or collecting a child support check. If you don't like hearing this, too bad. You can argue with the statistics. They're linked in the low bar. While I have no intention at all of excusing what these women do, neither will I hesitate at all to point out what our governments do to help breed this kind of social stupidity. Instead of regarding single mothers as what they are, cancer, we instead hired politicians to create policy that puts women on the dole just if there isn't a man in the house. We had a publishers' clearinghouse sweepstakes on raising criminals and ne'er-do-wells, and we made every woman a potential winner. And what has this left government to do except dedicate every resource it can to fleecing men for the outcome? It's like a scene straight out of Goodfellas. You got proof you're not the biological father? Fuck you, pay me. She stole your used condom and used it to get pregnant? Fuck you, pay me. Broke your back and can't work? Fuck you, pay me. She raped you when you were 13 and now wants you, the victim, to pay child support? Fuck you, pay me. What we've created here is a paternity racket that runs like the mafia. The state steals from men and gives to women, skimming its share off the top. As long as the money's good and the women's vote is largely monolithic, no one is going to hear anything about all the suffering innocents, filled prisons, crime, and failed lives. And of course, a big part of the problem is men, too. And I'm not just talking about the ones who sit by quietly while all this shit happens. I'm talking about the countless sycophants out there who nod approvingly or clap hands every time someone regurgitates the latest round of crap, idealizing single mothers like they are an asset to society and a role model for young women. They are neither. In fact, they are just the opposite. I'm sure about now there's some woman out there, probably a single mother, getting her panties in a twist because I haven't mentioned deadbeat dads. Let me tell you right now that you can just save it. Deadbeat dads fall into three categories. First, and least important, are fathers who just don't give a damn and do everything they can to escape the family they helped create. They are about as numerous as single moms who got there through no fault of their own, which is to say they are more of a distraction from the topic at hand than a reasonable part of the discussion. The second group is thugs. These are men who do booty calls in the shithole Section 8 apartments of welfare whores. They don't make any pretense at all to be looking to be husbands and active fathers, and the women they are fucking don't make any pretense at all of wanting them for anything other than sex and the eventual government check they can help her get. Finally, you got the dead broke, alienated dad. He's been run through the bloody gauntlet of family courts, reduced to a visitor in the life of his child. He gets to come by once a week and see how effective the ex is at making his own children hate him. He's the guy that just gives up. And I don't blame him. As you can read in the Warren Farrell book, Father and Child Reunion, the research points clearly to the fact that for the positive impact of fathering to be realized, the child must have the father immediately in their lives a minimum of 35% of the time. Most non-custodial fathers will never get anywhere near that amount of time. All they can do is write checks and watch their children go downhill. If you want to hold it against those guys when they check out, feel free. I'm not joining you, because whether they check out or not, their children are still subject to the same risks, the same harrowing statistics as the fathers who dog it out and settle for the crumbs that the ex allows him to have. There are only two things in my mind that are going to make this situation any better. One, single motherhood needs to be stigmatized on a level somewhere in between pedophilia and a case of leprosy. Two, and this is a particularly sad fact, the only people who are in any way likely to create that stigma is married mothers and childless women. That is not very likely, but it is infinitely more likely than blue pill men doing it. Blue pill men, or 99% plus of men, wouldn't stigmatize a woman if their life depended on it. Sure, some tradcons will stigmatize them as sluts, but being a slut isn't the issue here. The issue is the outrageous, almost incalculable cost to society of illegitimate children. Tradcon men rarely get past the Madonna whore complex long enough to really consider those things, so it is still up to women. And so far, most women view all perceived women's issues as sacrosanct. The free shit constituency still dominates the female vote, and until that changes, we are all going to continue to pay. And so will the unfortunate children we allow them to create. And that is it for another talk from an ear for men. I am closing with a reminder that this video marks the end of my winter Patreon drive. If you like my work on this channel, please consider pitching in a pledge or making a one-time donation. Links to both are in the low bar. As always, I hope you've enjoyed, even if I pissed you off, and we'll see you next time.